Hi everyone, delonewolf here, and as promised, welcome to my after report of the raid on the Barbican Drifter Hive, which took place last Saturday. So first of all, we once again gathered up in Amar, and all the information and the forming up of the fleet happens in the consortium operations channel. So if you want in on one of these, I highly recommend that you just join the channel, join the mailing list, and keep an eye on the events there, because they are planning and trying to have a raid on one of these hives happen every week. Now what I must say is that in the last two raids that I joined, the idea was to get started at 2000 EVE time, but having to bring such a diverse group of players together is pretty hard business, and so it took them more than 1 hour to actually form up and get going in the last raid last Saturday. So that is one thing that you have to keep in mind. If you're gonna join one of these raids, make sure that you have 3-4 hours of spare time ready when that is planned to start, because it does take some time to get everything going and to get the ball rolling. On top of that, there were only 25 members in the fleet this time. The previous time we had 32 members, and everything felt really smooth as long as you just listened to the fleet commanders. But with 25 members it was a little bit more tricky, especially since when we wanted to enter the wormhole, there were 5 drifter battleships on the identified wormhole, and that cost us 2 ships, so there was a further delay with some reshipping that needed to happen. Someone couldn't use the Take-2 launchers that was available on the local ship, so he had to go back to Amar, costing us even more time, and that all of that basically started to snowball in more problems that happened during this raid. For instance, there is like a shift change that happens in the drifter AI, that every 30 minutes the battleships are going to randomly go to different locations of interest to them, and so ideally it would be good if you could enter the wormhole and get into the hive in 30 minutes or less, because then of course you don't have the possibility of a few battleships coming in on either one of the rooms, or on the hive itself, on the wormhole, wherever. You could have players be doing important things. That is one thing that you want to avoid, but with only 25 players we really didn't manage that. So we lost 2 people upon entering the wormhole. They actually reshipped and rejoined us, costing us a little bit of time. I was once again in the beta wing on the right side of the hive, and we lost 2 more people in the different rooms, trying to hack our way towards the hive itself. And then unfortunately, as we wanted to do the final hack, the alpha wing on the left side lost their hacker to probably a drifter battleship, and so they had to double back. We had to do the same, because due to a shift change there were sleepers that had spawned inside the room where our hacker was exposing the core, and so all of that again caused us to have a much harder time. It made it a bit more interesting, I'll be honest, but the biggest problem is of course every time you lose someone inside the hive complex, so inside one of those rooms, they have pretty much no way of getting back in on the fleet. And having lost 2 of our caracals on the beta wing, we were quite a bit slower all of a sudden than the alpha wing. We caused the delay for them, and that's when they lost their hacker, which then again started to cause even more delays. But in the end we did manage to get into the final room before the hive, and that's where we were plagued by several disconnects, including myself. I had a socket lost. Luckily, upon relocking, the warp back sent me back in the actual hive room where the fleet was. So there were some disconnect problems, but in the end, if you were fast enough, then you did get back into the hive with the fleet. So that was lucky on our part. We actually managed to stay together there. Once we got in the hive itself, we were actually pretty lucky, because the first 3 battleships missed their doomsdays, and so with the fleet back together, of course, We were clearly slowing down due to losing 2 caracals when the fleet was split, but after that we got back together and we had plenty to handle the farming of the elements themselves. That's of course when a raid on a drifter hive slows down substantially. It's around every 15 to 20 minutes that a specific drifter battleship warps in, which will actually drop the interesting loot. All of that gets tractored, and then the way they have set it up at the moment is that they have a cloaky ship ready to grab all the loot so that it's not at risk. On this one I also did decide to stay for all 6 elements, and then we took the final gate inside the hive, which actually brings you to that weird drifter construct that looks like it's made out of hundreds if not thousands of small metallic beams. It looks like it's actually in a very interesting environment right there, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that story develops. The guys that have been doing that for a long time were actually trying to figure out if there were ways to trigger something in that final room, but I had not seen it before. It was pretty impressive to watch, and that's what you'll be seeing at the end of this video right here. Other than that, I tried to run this entire drifter raid in the tactical view to see if that was feasible and how that felt. I must say it was quite alright. The biggest advantage was that I would immediately recognize when someone in the fleet was doing something wrong. At one point my brother actually must have done a wrong double click or something like that, and instead of approaching a gate he completely overshot it, and I was actually the first one to notice it and to call him back into the fleet. And for something like that, the tactical view is actually pretty handy. So I had a fun time in this raid on the drifter hive here. I once again donated my part of the loot, so I can't exactly tell you what kind of rewards you get from this, but I actually hear that it's definitely not bad, and my brother is probably gonna try and join some more of them, and then as a corporation we'll try and gather some of these elements for ourselves as well, just in case they end up providing us with some interesting content when it comes to the lore that's happening around the drifters. Anyways, there you go guys, a quick video on the drifter hive. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all next time.